if we found a planet with beings that were lower than us and wanted to found a religion, what would be your number one tenet?
I go with the basic, don't be an asshole. That's the number one tenet of any religion, right? At least it should be. What do you guys think?
Mine would be that Asian people are the most important people.
There you go.
Well, for me, obviously, the one tenet I would go with is the golden rule, which is probably the only one any religion, any people need. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. But if not that one, or maybe in addition to that one, or like a B version of that one would be Dwayne is always right.
I don't know. Dwayne sounds just like basic Christianity.
What it's supposed to be.
Yeah. You didn't do anything, man. You did nothing. What would I do? What would be my thing for religion? That's a good question. I'd probably be like, don't do unto others. Don't. That would be it too. I guess it's Christianity, man. Never mind. That's very unoriginal of me too. You know what? It'd be like, just get out of other people's way.
Yeah.
Don't hurt anyone and get out of other people's way.
Yeah, get out of the way. Absolutely. That's big. Oh, you know what else I didn't say before, but this might be a tenet of mine, and that is anyone who lies for no reason, like no discernible reason, the lie doesn't gain them an advantage, like they've got to be severely punished. That's the weirdest thing. It's almost like an LA thing. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But yeah, people who lie for no reason, in addition to frustrating me, it befuddles me. And all day, I'm like, why did they say that lie?
Oh my gosh, I've met people like that. It's really bad. I once had an ex-boyfriend who lied about playing musical instruments. Like he said he played 10 musical instruments for no reason. He got found out because at some point we were doing a musical sketch and I said something about like the actual notes. Like, yeah, this is an A minor. And he was like, what? And I was like, oh no.
But he was like, oh, and I don't know your 10 musical instruments. I know, I know the theremin.
They're made up. He knows the kazoo. The kazoo is one.
All right. There's really no scales in the kazoo.
Also, there's an East African instrument called the knuck-knack. I play that. Please don't Google that. You won't find it.
Yeah. I know the thing that makes the cartoons sound like they're wiggly.
Right.
Long whistle.
Those are my instruments. Why did he have to lie about that? Did you guys ever watch that Dateline thing about the doctor who was replacing people's tracheas, but he wasn't a real doctor?
Oh,
yeah, that was also a Netflix special.
Yeah. He also lied about that. He said he played the piano. He also said he knew Obama and Oprah.
Well, we all know Obama. Are those really lies? We all know Oprah and Obama. We know them, right?
We know who they are.
Technically, I play an instrument myself. I'm an instrument of God. So, you know.
Yeah, right. You know, it's like that movie, Don't Look Up, which I really loved that movie. A lot of people didn't like it. It seemed like it was split half and half. Like half the people loved it, and I was in that half, and the other half hated it for some reason. But there's a scene in that movie where they're in the White House, you know, and they're trying to tell them that they need to fix this problem. And they're in there with a general, and he like makes them pay for Cheez-Its. He literally charges them for Cheez-Its. And then later on, they find out the Cheez-Its are free. It's like, yeah, this is the White House. You don't have to buy Cheez-Its. And like the whole rest of the movie, like they're trying to deal with their problem, but they can't get it out of their head. This question, like, why did he lie about that? Why did he charge us for the Cheez-Its?
That's funny. Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
Yeah, man. I think people didn't like that movie because they thought it was going to be a thriller. They didn't know that it was like a dark comedy. And that you got to blame Netflix for marketing wrong. You know, they had the wrong tenant because movie trailers, they lie to you too, man. You know? Because you see somebody like Leo DiCaprio, you don't think he's going to do a dark comedy. You think they're doing a legit, oh, this is the end of the world thriller kind of thing.
Right. I've never seen the movie, and I'm just finding out it's a comedy myself.
I thought people didn't like it because they were kind of making fun of half our country.
I think that was the point.
Yeah.
I think people really thought that it was going to be a thriller.
Oh, okay.
Like they thought it was going to be like The Day After Tomorrow.
Well, welcome. This is season 4, episode 1 of the award-winning unofficial official story. I'm Kat.
I'm Dwayne.
And I am Koji.
And this is where we tell you the official story. We look at the paranormal, conspiracies, unexplained phenomena, cryptids, and true crime. And then by the end, we'll tell you what really maybe happened. In March, we celebrate Easter, and Easter marks the resurrection of Jesus 3 days after his crucifixion. And we're celebrating the holiday by asking the very important and often unasked question, did aliens write the Bible? But first, let's introduce our guest. You've already heard him, comedian Nick Guerra. Nick is definitely a comedian that will catch you off guard.
Oh, don't read my bio. Oh, no, don't do that to them. Oh, my God.
I'm going to do it. His
no,
comedy
do not read. That is
has
not
been described by his fans
that
as
is
a
an
hilarious
unofficial story
soul-cleansing experience. Soul-cleansing, Nick.
Ooh,
Wow.
I didn't write that. You know what? That's the thing. Where did you get this bio from?
From your website.
Oh man, I got to go in there and see who wrote that, because that was not me.
Right.
I would
Nick
never
has
claim to
been-
be soul cleansing at all.
Nick has been on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. He has a dry bar special. I'm just getting it out there.
Oh man, you
At
know, I do want
hour.
to say that if there was anything that described Dwayne Perkins, it is the idea of unofficial official. I feel like every
Right.
conversation I've had with Dwayne kind of is in that realm of thinking.
He's also been on Comedy Central, Stand Up Revolution with Gabriel Iglesias,
Oh my God, you are going for it.
and on NBC's Last Comic Standing.
There you
I
go.
did it. You
There
don't
you go. Good
challenge
job.
me. I will.
Kat doesn't get paid if she doesn't read that, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess so, man. I guess so. Nothing is worse than hearing your own bio. It's just to me, it's soul crushing.
It's actually worse when the bio's wrong or the bio's like really, really old.
Yeah, I don't know who put soul cleansing. Now I got to go look at that, because I that must have been added,
Did
and
your
I'm the
mom
one
write
that
it?
edits it. So maybe I did it at some point.
Yeah, what
Did
does soul
ChatGPT
cleansing
do it?
experience mean?
I have no idea. Like, I don't promise anything to people on stage.
That is true. When I introduced Nick, he's like, don't even tell them I'm funny. Just be like, your next comedian is Nick Guerra.
Yep, that's it. It's
That's
like,
it.
don't give them any hope. And but you can't put that in a bio, because then everyone's like, we can't say that. It's like, don't hope for
Right,
anything.
right.
Nick Guerra.
How did you get into comedy?
Oh man, we're not gonna go into the history
Yes,
of
we
Nick,
are.
are we?
Yeah.
Let's
I
do
did
it.
it like anybody. I paid for parking and I went into a club. But I almost didn't. It was the first time I ever paid for parking in my life. And if it wasn't for my friend who actually paid for it, I probably would have never done it.
How much was the parking?
25 cents. We had to go look for a meter. And I was like, you know what? Let's just leave. That's how I was. I was like, I can't go anywhere where there's a meter. I can't live this city life.
How old were you?
22, 23 probably.
Okay.
But I come from South Texas. There's no parking meters there. My religion's based on all the best parts of Monopoly. Take a chance. Community chest. Parking's free. If you pass if you pass 1 year, you collect $200. That's what it would be.
Okay. I have a question. What was the first joke you ever wrote or did on stage?
I wrote this whole bit about the word melancholy because I was a big fan of George Carlin, and I thought the idea of stand-up was about breaking down words and what do words really mean. So I wrote like a 5-6 minute bit where I was like, melancholy is such a ridiculous word. It's like, I'm kind of happy, but I'm not. It's like you find out that you didn't lock your car and nothing was broken in. It's like, oh, wow, great. I have a shitty car. It was just back and forth like that. It's like finding out that you have a girlfriend that loves giving blowjobs. Like, well, wait a minute. How did she find out she loved giving blowjobs? That's melancholy. So,
Okay.
it was that for like 7 minutes because I thought that's what you had to do as a stand-up. Like, oh, we're going to break down words and figure out examples about words.
That's pretty ambitious out the gate,
Right? That is
Yeah.
that's promising.
Well, so I wrote that out and then I did it at a stand-up contest that was judged. I now realize that the judges were like 2-year open micers.
Was it the World Series of Comedy in Vegas?
No. It was in Dallas. But in my mind, they were legit. They were comedians and they hated that bit. They're like, if I have to hear melancholy again, they were livid. And I have now surpassed them 100 times over in my career. And I'm like, you know what? I'm bringing back melancholy. It was a well-written bit.
Well, you know what's crazy about that is when it was clear that you had surpassed them, in that moment, they became melancholy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they were melancholy. Yeah, exactly. It was guys that they're in it for 2 years. They think they're great, and then they quit. But they quit like, I did it, I achieved, and they still think they're great at stand up. You know what I'm saying? They never touch it again, but they're like, I did it. I got out before I really failed. Is basically before I took a chance.
Yeah, I know people like that for sure. That's real.
Yeah.
I think that's like all the studio readers who they give you like these crazy notes about your script.
Yeah.
And then they act like they're so much better. I'm like, well, if you were so much better, why are you reading these scripts? Why aren't you writing your own script?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Right now we have a lot of experts that have never touched a thing, and this is going to sound kind of ridiculous, but podcast listeners, especially comedy podcast listeners, oh man, filled with experts that have never touched a thing.
The reason why our listeners don't fit into that is because we're not experts either. So it's like, this is a
Wait, no, you're not
community
doing you're not doing a stand-up podcast.
Right.
That's what
true.
it is.
We're just
I'm
getting
talking
to know
about
you.
people that like listen to stand-up podcasts, and then they're like, they said that you should never do an act out, or your knees should never touch the ground. Dumb rules like that, which exist in these bitter comics podcast lexicon. Like I saw somebody ask what a middle was, and they were like, oh, a middle's somebody who doesn't have enough professionalism to make it as a headliner. I was like, no, middle somebody that's not famous enough. It's a lot of good middle.
Right.
I still middle from time to time.
That's wild.
I heard someone say with full confidence the other day, you should always just go for the joke, even if it's not true. And that is the opposite rule of good comedy, in my opinion.
I told you that in the car driving to Brea. All right, you don't have to call me out like that. All right, I provide a soul cleansing experience. Cat.
All right, well, let's get to it. Let's get to the main podcast.
Yes, let's do it.
What if beings from another planet planted the Judeo-Christian religion on Earth? What if the aliens created man in their image? And what if we suppose the angels are really just beings from a more advanced society? In this episode, we did a deep dive in the 1973 book, The Bible and Flying Saucers by Barry H. Downing.
I just want to say I read this whole book. It's like 200 pages. I mean, it's not that it's 200 pages. But it's a long book about something that was very ridiculous. All right, but according to the book, what are some of the proof that the aliens influenced the Bible? So let's start with the Old Testament. In Exodus, pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Could that be a UFO that led the Hebrew people out of Egypt via a voice from a bush, parted the Red Sea, led them through the wilderness, and then gave them the 10 Commandments? The voice for a bush is something that we can do today. Just, you can put a phone there. And I'm pretty sure the aliens could do it back then. And then this is a quote from the Bible. The Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, that they might travel by day and by night. That's from Exodus 13:21. So, maybe that's a UFO. And according to Barry Downing, if a modern UFO were anxious to cause something like the parting of the Red Sea, it would probably use an anti-gravitational beam, because of course it would, or something like an anti-G beam to move the water back. While in the wilderness, the aliens apparently fed them. So here's the quote for that. And when the dew had gone up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flake-like thing, fine as hoarfrost on the ground. When the people of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? Which is eventually was known as manna, for they did not know what it was. That's from Exodus 16:14 and 16:15. It's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, though. The burning bush could just be a baby monitor at this point.
Continuing in the Old Testament with Abraham and Jacob. And the Lord appeared to him, Abraham, by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men stood in front of him. Maybe they aren't angels, but aliens. That there was a ladder set up on the earth, and on top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. I feel like I've definitely seen pictures like this at my grandma's house. Anyways, that's Genesis 28:12.
Maybe she was praying to aliens, right? Maybe.
Possible.
Right. I know that's Bible talk, but when you first said it, it just sounded like maybe they were rednecks back in the biblical term. That there was a ladder. But anyway, go ahead.
That's all of history. It is really just a bunch of rednecks. Hey, what are you? Indians? I think we landed in India. You're Indians. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, gosh, it's true.
It's very redneck to just call somebody something they aren't, and just that's it.
These are angels, and they're like, we're aliens. Angels, it is.
Angels.
Well, actually, what's interesting is that from the reading was that there's in the Bible, and I never really noticed this when I read the Bible many, many moons ago, but they never actually mention angels, and they never say they don't have wings or anything like that. That's all kind of that's from like drawings and paintings and stuff and people's perceptions, but it's actually, for the most part, they never say anything like that in the Bible. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe that thing wasn't a ladder, but it was actually like a beam from a mothership.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's what a pillar of fire sounds like. And what was the other one? A pillar of clouds. So at night, of course, a beam looks like fire, and in the day, it looks like clouds.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving to the New Testament, this is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. We heard this voice born from heaven, for we were with him on the holy mountain. That's Peter 1:16 through 18. You can just use speakers, right, for that now. And an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were filled with fear. Luke 2:9. The aliens helped the shepherds find baby Jesus. Sounds like the aliens helped the shepherds find baby Jesus. For an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards trembled and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, for he has risen, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead." Matthew 28:1-7. And raiment, white as snow. Raiment are clothes. So it was like a Puff Daddy all white party or something. Angels or aliens? Notice that none of the angels have wings.
We would be remiss not to mention the fact that most Bible scholars do not believe these are proof that aliens influence the Bible.
We would be.
But what does ChatGPT think? ChatGPT? Did the aliens do it?
The idea that aliens wrote the Bible is not supported by historical or scholarly evidence. The Bible is a collection of religious texts considered sacred by Judaism and Christianity, and its origins are traditionally attributed to human authors inspired by divine revelation. The Old Testament, for example, includes texts that were written by various individuals over centuries, reflecting the religious and cultural context of ancient Israel.
I think ChatGPT, we need to try that one more time, but let's get a better version of it.
In a cosmic library, benevolent extraterrestrials crafted the Galactic Chronicles, a guide to universal peace. To impart wisdom to Earth, they encoded the cosmic truths in a sacred text to Earth's Bible. Centuries passed, revealing glimpses of extraterrestrial influence, as humanity sought meaning in the celestial words, unaware of their cosmic origin.
I like that one better.
I don't. I like the first one better. and I'm going to tell you why, man. If we start to believe that the aliens wrote the Bible, influenced all this and that, we are really giving humanity no credit at all for any creativity, any willpower. Everything we do is for an alien life force. Because the idea of like, are we a louche planet? Is this a planet Earth, a prison farm for energy created by carbon beings that alien entities take? So I'll get more into that if there's no more.
It's nice. Well, it feels like whenever there's some sort of landmark that's prehistoric, and that landmark exists where people are supposedly less advanced than Europeans, then it's got to be alien.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember back in the day, I heard somebody tell me that they thought that Mexican doctors would be worse than American doctors just because of their perceived notion of the stereotypes of Mexicans. They're like, oh, I just thought they'd be dumber. And it's like, what? So you're right. Like when people look at others as, oh, there's no way you could do this because you're supposed to be savages. You're supposed to be stupid, Well,
they've also said that nothing good has come out from outside of Europe, right? Which is crazy because geometry was created in North America or the Americas, it was created in Asia, it was created in Africa, it was created in Europe.
Didn't the Arabs come up with algebra?
And the number system.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually Prince Ali that of Ali Ababa.
Wait, from Aladdin?
Yes, he's the one. Yeah, if you listen to the song, he did all kinds of things like create geometry.
Roman numerals were just not great. I mean,
yeah, they were bad letters.
All right, it's time to put on our thinking caps. Did aliens influence the Bible? When we return, we'll settle this once and for all and figure out what really maybe happened.
Now that we reviewed the evidence, let's give our theories.
To piggyback on what Nick was saying, like giving aliens the credit is kind of like a catch-all, almost a cop-out of sorts. Here's what I'm thinking. So the Bible was going to be written either way, and it was people wrote things, and they're like, that sounds good, and this is how people should live. It was almost like we were working on this collective manifesto, right? But when you have these instances of these weird supernatural things, they're not aliens. They are humans from the future who time traveled back and did some shit. Because I'm sure we've all thought, like, I've always thought, like, man, if I could go back 2,000 years with a lighter, they'd probably be like, oh my God, this guy's got fire in his hand, So now I know where's the time machine, what happened with it. I think that a few people came back. They probably broke some major rules that they weren't supposed to, alter the timeline. And maybe, that the time machine has been broken since. But I do think, so these weren't aliens. It was humans who sort of came back in time. Either they wanted to rewrite history or change the course of things, and they came back. Which is why sometimes I think, when I think of these, like all the pyramids that are in all different parts of the world, it makes me think they didn't come back far enough to like reset everything. That's why some things still exist. But so humans were on this path, and we were going to do everything we were going to do regardless. And I just think people have traveled back in time to sort of either change who we worship or change who gets the credit for it or whatever.
Mine is that the alien did actually influence the Bibles because so they have this social network platform that they've been wanting to sell to us for a very long time. And so they wanted to kind of shape us and grow us and get us ready for it. And they were planning to release it in 2025 because back when the Bible, 2,000 years ago, we weren't ready to buy the stuff that they wanted us to sell. So they used the Bible to shape us as a society to get to the point when we're ready to do it. Kat, what about you?
Okay, so mine is, yes, it's also aliens for sure, but it's Valiant Thor's guys.
Okay.
So for those who've been following the podcast, you guys already know who Valiant Thor is. But for those who don't know Valiant Thor, because you're new here, he was this alien who came and met with President Eisenhower and basically told him that we all needed to stop fighting and we need to chill on the Cold War stuff and kind of take care of the Earth. It was a lot of like good stuff like that. And Eisenhower listened to him, and like Valiant Thor like kind of like lived on planet Earth, and they were always like kind of giving hippy dippy messages. That's Valiant Thor. And also I think we think Valiant Thor is like Swedish or Swiss or something because he seems very Nordic.
Yeah, they're called Nordics.
The Nordic aliens. So that's who I think these guys are. I think they're the Nordic aliens going back, and because they are kind of giving those sorts of messages, like be good to each other type things. Like he gave them the 10 commandments. That's a very Valiant Thor vibe. So
basically 2 aliens, just one is the Thor type. You didn't specify your aliens, right, Koji?
Yeah, they're just selling Asians. They're Asians that sell. Or I said Asian aliens that sell.
Are you saying it's the Chinese secretly?
It could be the Chinese. Yeah, it could be the Chinese.
Isn't there a racist theory that Asians are aliens somewhere out there?
There is actually. Yeah, the gray aliens. Yeah, the gray aliens are known as Asians because they're hairless and they're small and they're like robots. They don't have like their own mind. Yeah.
And they constantly crashing spaceships. No, that's not.
There you go. I like how Koji left that part out.
Right.
Nick, what's your theory?
I mean, it's listening to your guys' theories, and then I kind of have, because like I said, I've dived into this topic on different things. Dwayne's theory reminds me of resaving a document. Whereas when you change a document, the document doesn't know it's been changed once it's resaved. It doesn't remember the past, and you can keep changing it as much as you want to change it. You are the time machine of that document. You are changing it, its past, its future, its middle to fix to you. So I don't think a time machine would be broken. It's just we would never notice if it's still changing. I mean, for all we know, it's changing right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is that idea that the Cat Williams, Joe Rogan podcast theory that, there was a more modern civilization back in the day that was destroyed by a earth-changing event, and we have remnants of their technology and their thought, how they built a society still sitting around, which might, be the reasons for pyramids and things like that. The Bible might just be a big self-help book, the way you guys are saying it. Like, think about it. If aliens may have left a big self-help book and we're just worshiping it like it's a religious thing, and that we've shaped and continue to shape. And it was really just a great manual on how to be a better person. But once man gets a hold of instructions on being a better person, of course they're going to change it to like, well, yeah, we'll be a better person. And also, nobody eats shrimp, and also, women can't really do much. You know what I'm saying? Because that's man putting his touch on it for the time.
So do you think what do you think? So is it aliens?
So if I was going to say it's aliens humanity is an aggressive, superstitious species. And we found a way to split an atom, which we should not have done, because you're not supposed to be able to break an atom. It created a massive amount of energy, which sent out a signal to whatever it may be out there saying, oh no, this species that we thought were stupid and dumb because they were on planet Earth, so they were supposed to be dumber than us, should have never figured out how to split an atom. But guess what they did, right? There is the idea of planet Earth being a loosh farm. Everything that we are is energy. Everything about us, the sound waves to our bodies, it's all atoms bouncing back. So we create a certain amount of energy. So there's the belief that we're a planet that harvests energy that maybe alien life forms take a little bit from. Now,
I have a new theory, but you finish yours.
So you know how there's different oil companies, right, out there. Then oil is basically the same, but different oil companies have different ownership of different parts of the land. Well, different religions have different ownership on parts of humanity. So think of like alien species treating us like separate, like Christianity is an oil plant, Judaism is an oil plant. What are some of the other ones? Muslims, they're an oil plant of energy, right? And so that certain alien group sends down muses to inspire us, to get us happy, to get us fearful, to create energy, to get us to respond, to get us to interact, to put us in churches or mosques together, to have all this energy sparks that they could collect it in little bits, and there we are being influenced by aliens to react, to be happy, to be sad, to be angry, because it's all energy. It's all constant, continuous energy to move. We were told about money so that we would work, so we would keep producing and moving and bumping into each other, creating this constant flow of energy. So that's how I look at it, as if, yes, aliens may have created religion just so that they could have their version of our energy. Well, you know what I tap into? I tap into Christian energy. That's where my source comes from. That's where my house gets powered.
So if I had to like distill this into like the really like simple cartoon version, it's like there's aliens, and then like like when we pray, they're like getting the energy, and they're like, boom, yes, they prayed to Jesus. That's us.
That's us. So okay, that's my loosh farm conspiracy.
The loosh farm conspiracy. Okay.
But the thing I hate about that theory is, like I said earlier, it paints us as nothing. Everything we do is something else. Everything we do is inspired by others, which it kind of is. They say in our stomach, the biomes are actually what make us do what we do. All those little tiny organisms that live in us and make us like, hey, eat more carbs because we like it. Hey, do this because we like it,
The spice, like that one South Park episode about Tom
exactly.
Brady.
So I don't want to believe that other organisms control us. The unfortunate truth is that on a molecular level, we do get controlled by other beings. They're the little biomes that live in us, in our gut.
What if the angels were actually just like clouds of biome?
It may be that
microbiomes, shaped
and
together like a person.
It's like this kind of theory helped me understand the idea of muses, right? Because each one of us is attracted to a type of music, which music is just a sound, right? And it's like, oh, I like that sound. I like the way that sounds. So the muse creates, okay, well, I'm going to go create this little rap song so I can collect all these little rap lovers into a concert, and they go and they jam and they party and all that energy. So I'm powered by rap lovers. You know what I'm saying? Along with Christianity, along with runners and hikers. These are people that power me. So, that's how deep I got into this idea.
This is a very elaborate theory, I gotta say.
I've dived deep into the idea of what aliens are to us.
I want to throw out another theory. What if this is like a cool, like, future past one? What if it's this? I think I'm probably in my head remembering like an old episode of Black Mirror. But like, what if every time like the story of humanity runs, we blow up the universe and everything ends? And so and it's like catastrophic. The aliens go back to try to fix it to keep us from doing that. But it still happens. Like we still end up coming up with the A-bomb or making a black hole.
You could think of it that way. Like say we do destroy everything. It's like restarting a computer. You're still going to have remnants of that old computer memory inside of there, still corrupting whatever gets created. So we are still going to be corrupted by these civilizations of the past that have been destroyed because it still lives in us.
In Kat's new theory, it's basically the aliens are like training. It's like the aliens are doing Groundhog's Day with us, trying to have a different outcome each time, and they haven't figured out how to make us not blow ourselves up. And in Nick's theory, it's actually aliens didn't only write the Bible; they inspired all the religions, which I kind of dig that too.
So at this point in the show, it's time for us to pick the unofficial official story, one that will answer the question once and for all. So, which theory do we want to go with today?
Kat, you're offering your second theory, right? Or your first theory.
Which one would I like to have voted on?
Right.
I would combine mine and say that it is the Valiant Thor aliens still.
Okay.
But they are going back in time to keep us from blowing up the world.
I see.
Every single time.
Quick question. In that theory, how close are we to blowing it up? And where are we in that timeline right now? It feels like tomorrow.
I feel like we might be within like 5 years.
I guess we'll find out in November.
Right.
Or we won't, because in the Valiant Thor will go back to the right point of time, stop it, and then it'll push us back into another year of not destroying ourselves.
So Dwayne, which one are you voting for?
Oh, this is tough. I do like them all. I like mine because it's a future thing. And I love that analogy Nick had with the document. But I think I'm going to go with, I like them both. I'll go with Kat with the added Groundhog's Day thing. I mean, so we're giving aliens credit in that scenario, but also it's like, it's on us to somehow learn and for them to somehow learn what to tell us. So I do like that we're basically seeking some sort of redemption, whether we get it or not. And if we don't get it, we get a do-over. So I like Kat's.
I'm voting for Nick's. I like the whole idea of the farming. I think that's my favorite part.
That is cool.
Kat, what about you?
Oof. The farming, the energy is pretty cool, but I am digging my story. I like this whole not only the time travel, but I just basically like put together Koji's and Dwayne's into one.
That's true. Actually, I take my back. I'm gonna vote for yours, Kat. I'm changing my answer. So it doesn't even matter what Nick what you say, but Nick, for the sake of it, why don't you just vote? What you think?
I'm completely with mine. I honestly am not going with Kat's whatsoever. It's to me, Kat, it's a great story. It's a Hollywood movie, but it doesn't have the reality of why it needs to be done. Why in the end are they doing this? Why are they trying to save this? Because they want our energy.
Maybe it's all true.
It's all comes down to why even do this? Why mess with us?
Okay, I got it. The Valiant Thor aliens are in love with these hot Latino Mayan aliens from another planet, right? And then so the thing is, the humans end up blowing them up every time, and then they're sad because they loved her, and so they have to go to save the hot Latina.
When you mentioned Monopoly, when you play Monopoly, eventually the game is over, but then you play again, right?
Yeah. And Monopoly was created for a different reason, and it was taken by a man who made it his own. Like Monopoly was supposed to teach you not to start a monopoly, and that's kind of like the Bible. Like
Right.
these instructions were written for another reason, to teach you how to be a better society. And man himself said, yeah, but that doesn't sell. So let's make it about greed and anger.
Right, right. Like, yeah, like people say,
Right.
like Jesus would be a Republican, or Jesus is a capitalist, and it's like, I mean, he gave away fish.
No, he
That's not
wouldn't.
capitalism.
Yeah, he would not be.
Right? He didn't charge when he gave away the fish.
No.
Oh gosh.
No, Jesus would be Ash from Pokemon. Very sweet,
Right, right.
collecting us all, evolving us, getting us to a stronger place.
Well, what if it's all true? It's aliens. They have to harvest our energy, but also if we blow them up, they die. So they can't have us blow up. So they go back in time, and then they
They can't have their energy source blow up. Because think about
There
if
you
we
go.
blew up our energy source.
Oh, then they die.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the story. Forget the hot Latinas. That was a distraction. That was just me spitballing, but it's false.
We're basically Pokemon, all right? We're Pokemon.
All right. And that's the official story, you guys. So we'll take another break. And when we return, we'll try to figure out which stories were really written by aliens.
If there was one book, TV show, or movie that you think had to be written by aliens, what would it be? Mine is the Communist Manifesto. I'm going with the idea that aliens hate us, and that book, I believe, has killed more people than any other book. I mean, I think it's like 100 million people, I think is the idea.
Wow.
So I mean, if they hate us, that's the one that killed the most people. So that's the one that I think that had to be
Okay.
written by
I feel like
aliens.
that checks out. Mine is going to be 50 Shades of Grey. Because I feel like that's what an alien would think sex was.
Oh.
Like,
Oh, okay. I like
like
that.
they don't really
I like
know what
that.
it is, but they're like, this makes sense. Like, you know what? Like, it's a really like porn addicted alien who's like, all right, I'm gonna write a romance
That's
novel,
funny.
and then it just like it's weird. Confession time. I once tried to watch a 50 Shades of Grey porn, and it was terrible. I was like, who is this written by?
I taught a class about screenwriting for teens once, and they were like repressed teens. They were like a religious school. And every time somebody had sex, they would say they went into the bathroom and came out with their hair rumpled. And that was like every single time. I was like, do you understand what happens in there? Like, I mean, I couldn't talk to them because they're like little kids about it. It was so weird. Yeah, they're like, their clothes are wrinkled and their hair was, and like, I was like, well,
How
I
did
don't
the clothes
understand.
get wrinkled? What?
Yeah.
Clothes are
It was
wrinkled.
funny. It's the same idea, right? They had no idea what was really happening. So they like wrote like something that was
Oh my gosh,
super
funny story. I went on a date once with a 40-year-old virgin, and his idea of flirting, he was like, if I was with you, he would do it 6 times a day. And I was like, you are a virgin, because no one does that. No, that's not how people work.
Right, right.
What?
Or he's an alien.
That's so weird that you would have that tough talk when you've literally never done it before.
Mhm.
That's like me saying, if I was an ice skater, I'd win the gold medal. Like, what? No, this is just crazy. But
But you know what? But think about it. People do that. People talk to athletes like that all
They
the
do.
time. Oh, what are you
People
doing?
do that to
Huh?
us as comedians. Oh my gosh. Who told me a story? Someone told me a story recently about, last night it was Paul Moomjean. We'll have him on here sometime. But he went to Montana to do a show for 800 people with the Verzi triplets. And the guy who was putting on the show was this real estate guy. And he wanted to do 20 minutes up top. He'd never done stand-up before, but he was
20
the one
minutes.
producing the show. He gets up there, bombs for 20 minutes for 800 people. And it's like,
Who know
know him? Yeah. And it's like the balls to be like, yeah, what you do at a high level, I can do that.
Well, it's like there's a famous quote by the guy named Brian Scalabrine. He was a Celtic, and his quote was, "I'm closer to Michael Jordan than a normal person is to me." So the difference between an NBA basketball player, even a guy that sits on the bench, is closer to Michael than any person, normal person off the street is to him. Like that's a huge difference. But people see him and they think, oh, he sucked because he only scored like 2 points a game. But in reality, he's probably the best player in his state, if not players in the country.
Yeah.
he had a period where he would play regular guys. And at the time he was 40, and he would wipe them. And he played one guy who actually played Division I basketball at Syracuse, but he wasn't a pro. And that guy was 25. So he's a 25-year-old who played Division I basketball, and he couldn't beat a 40-year-old NBA player. He just wiped them.
Wow, man, this sounds like he got a lot of hate. He's still out there trying to prove things. I think the one book that would be written by an alien, going with my theory, is every book, but the main book that would be written by an alien, Superman, because an alien is the most strongest, the best, most patriotic, most honest, most humble savior of our world. So Superman is obviously written by aliens.
I like it.
With no flaws.
No flaws, perfect, and white, and he's Kansas white.
I have a book in mind, so but just jokey joke. I think TV show either Mork and Mindy or Small World with the robot. That's if aliens were trying to be funny, but if they were trying to teach, probably The Little Prince, because he visits different planets and learns different things.
Well, what is the Scientology book called? Just Scientology book? That's like blatant alien writing.
Dianetics.
Yeah,
Dianetics.
No, I think that's actually the one that pisses them off. Like, we had nothing to do with that.
Well, you guys, thank you. Thank you, Nick, for coming on with us. Please tell us where people can follow you.
Well, you could follow my soul cleansing comedy on my Instagram or everything else at Nick Comic. Just go there at Nick Comic. That's the best thing to do. Why not?
Well, thank you all so much for listening. There are almost 3 million podcasts, and we're honored you've chosen to listen to ours. Check out our website, unofficialofficialstory.com, for our show notes or to hear our past episodes. Please follow us on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube, if TikTok is still there in a week. Please join us next month when we're asking the question, was Bruce Lee killed by the secret touch of death?
Bruce Lee's still alive. He's hanging out with Tupac.
Okay.
Nice.
Everybody's still alive if you believe in quantum immortality.
There you have it, folks.
There you go.
Yeah, we don't have to do an episode next month. We've already figured it out. All right,
Bye,
bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.